Welcome to another episode of the Hot Topic Podcast with your host, Patrick Quanch.
You know, the chasing for the wrong reasons thing that's a great conversation that everybody should have with themselves and then those around them when they're comfortable, relatively often. Let's just put it that way. But I'll give another, I guess I'm relying on the sports examples a little bit
Yeah,
here,
no, it's
but a
good. I love it.
good one to illustrate. I've had the opportunity, it's very difficult to execute anymore, but for a long time, I got a chance to play baseball, adult baseball tournaments with my dad. I've got a couple of uncles that played, and we
Oh,
kind of
wow.
build a team that ends up being as big enough to be its own team over the years. And we were all collectively chasing a championship at a tournament in Cooperstown that's played every September.
How cool. Yeah.
And I got to start when I think it was 21. I was doing a rehab from a shoulder surgery and not eligible at the time to play football. So I went and played baseball with my dad, and that really helped kind of get my arm back. But anyway, I was 22, I think, at the time. And around the time I was, I think, 29 or 30, we had a really good team. Really, really good team. And we knew, like, hey, we played it. We kind of surprised ourselves and made the championship game the year prior and got blown out. But this one, it was like, okay, we got a real shot here. And we lose our very first game of the tournament. Close. Every game we lost was a one-run deal, whatever. But we made the playoffs. We get to the final game, down 2 runs in the seventh inning, and one of my buddies hits a 2-run homer to tie it. Awesome moment. Next two guys, I think, get on, and we end up with the potential winning run at third base, 1 out. I'm coaching third base, and ball gets hit to shortstop. Shortstop has a chance to turn a double play. He decides not to, and he throws it home. My guy, I tell him, just go. Like, let's put it on the line here. Just go.
Running on contact. Yep.
Yes. He slides, and of course, I've got a perfect view of all of this. I can see not only my dugout, but the other team's dugout, pretty much everything that mattered at the plate. I can see that he's safe. I see the umpire. I'm, jumping up in the air, hands up, everything. So is everybody else. And the body is going crazy that we win it. But in my mind, I'm going, I kind of wanted him to be out because this is so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't want this process to end. And I'm just enjoying the moment of, in this case, playing baseball, but anybody else enjoying in the moment of helping a customer reach their goals as a business, as a fleet, etc. And if you can get to that level of, I don't want to say a championship is not a big deal or a record is not a big deal or whatever, but it's a checkpoint along the way, and you really get the enjoyment of the day to day, you're really winning in that sense.
Wow. That is an incredible story. And yes, you're absolutely right. The hardest thing to do as a chasing type A individual is to stop and enjoy the process.
Yes.
It is so difficult.
And in that story, the baseball story, I share that in that there have been moments for me and anybody else that's been in a competitive environment where you do hit that ultimate goal, and it does feel like, oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Scotty Scheffler was just talking about that in winning majors a few weeks ago in the golf world. That case wasn't it at all. It was, I just don't want to stop. And I think there's a big difference between the two. In that, yes, your goal, it maybe wasn't high enough, or you were aiming at the wrong thing or whatever. And when you do hit that ultimate goal, you're going to feel the way that you described of, oh man, this is it. What do I do now? Versus the other way around. If you're in love with the process, it's like, oh, I don't want to stop.
Right. Well, and Will, I'll say this, the other caveat to that is when you set an end goal and that's your only goal, when you get there, there's nothing left. But if you set
Right.
goals along the way, there were championship wins along the way. It could be, let's say, you're trying to get, let's say you're trying to get to 1,000 units a year. Okay. When you get to 100, celebrate.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
as meaningless as you feel like in the grand scheme of it. There's people in the dealership that are doing more than that, but you've never done it. Celebrate. right?
Yes.
Celebrate it. When you get to 200, 250, 500, whatever the number is, celebrate along the way. And that was my biggest downfall, was I put an end goal number up there, and when I achieved it and looked around, it was, okay, to get to the next mountain, I've got to now climb down this mountain and start over. And that's when burnout hit me. It's like, I'm not willing to start over. Whereas if that would have been one along the way, I still would have been on the same mountain.
How many times have you walked into a business of any kind and you see that first dollar
Yeah.
framed on the wall?
Yeah.
That is a perfect example of that. There were a lot of coaches I played for that played or coached in the NFL, and the one ball that they had on display in their office that was consistent was first win. They might not have had a coach of the year or anything, might not have had anything like that, maybe didn't earn it, but still. But they all had first win,
Yeah.
which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's celebrating. And what it does, it quantifies how hard it is to get there,
Yes.
right?
I would like to have one of those. Yeah.
You understand. The same way in our sales world, it's hard to get to 500 units a year. It's not
Mhm.
easy. It's hard to get to 1,000. Again, a lot of people will come in our industry and say, "Well, I want to go sell Frito-Lay." Okay, yeah, don't we all? Yeah, absolutely. But that's their mindset, and they're like, "Well, if I could just get that one account, okay." So let me get this straight: you're going to walk into Frito-Lay. You don't know anything from anything. You don't know what you don't know. All right, that's perfect. You're going to walk into Frito-Lay and say, "I want to sell you trucks." And somebody within there is going to say, "Okay, you know what? Well, you seem like a nice guy. We're just going to turn over our whole fleet over to you." Do you really think that's going to happen? But that's how naive they are, because then they start looking at the money. It's like, okay, well, if I can just land one account, all I have to do is take care of one account, and I can sell whatever it is per year. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of
Mhm.
legwork, a lot of deadlift days on Tuesday evenings.
Yes.
There's a lot of wind sprints on Wednesday morning at 4 a.m. to give sport analogies. The same way in our world, there's a lot of education that goes into what we do. You have to be highly educated. Can our customer go get information? Absolutely. They can. With all the softwares that are out there and all the apps that are available to us, you can generally find out anything about anything within seconds. But what makes you different? That's the key. What makes you different? When I sold trucks, primarily Fords, there were at the time 3,300 Ford dealers around the country. How did I sell in all 50 states from the Dallas-Fort Worth area? How did I do that? I had to be different. Now, the dealership plays a lot into that. They gave me the opportunity
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
they stocked the vehicles. They gave me an office. They gave me resources. But then beyond that, it was, how am I going to, if I have somebody calling me, and I did actually have this, I had somebody call me from Walla Walla, Washington. As a kid, I just thought that was the weirdest name that I could ever hear. But I actually sold a truck to a guy in Walla Walla. Why did he buy from me? And I'm a long ways from Walla Walla, Washington. Now, you know, a lot of salespeople say, well, it was me. Well, maybe, somewhat. Maybe you had the truck he's looking for. Maybe he didn't tell you that he's got family down here and he was already going to be down here anyway. Whatever, but we don't want to ask those questions. We just want to figure out, well, why'd they buy it from me? So the other thing is, what makes you different? What makes you special? And if you can ever portray that in a way to your potential customers that, yes, I know you're 8 states away and there's 500 dealerships in between us, but I want you to buy from me, and here's why. If you can ever resonate that, you're going to have a very long, prosperous career. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, talk to us about, we touched on it earlier a little bit, the youth. How do we get more youth in our side of the industry? It's very difficult.
Yeah. I think that is probably the industry's greatest challenge. And that's and I mean fleet and commercial specific there on the sales side, and that's saying something considering the unique challenges that we've faced for the last 6 years or so. Since even before COVID, and inventory challenges up and down, and interest rates and all that stuff. Um, because I think it's a difficult position to market to somebody who doesn't understand, and there's really no way to take a college kid, let's say, and have them understand the nuances that make this fun. It's just, you've got that analogy. Would they rather sell BMWs to their friends or their family until they can sell to their friends, or do they want to sell beautiful white trucks that are beautiful for a day and then they get beat up on the job site? And knowing the difference between a service body and a KUV or a mechanic's body or whatever, obviously it takes a lot of education on that. I think there are significant things that a dealership needs to probably sacrifice, might be the right word for it, to be able to make that happen. You have to have patience in this game. If you're trying to see somebody find success after 90 days, I mean, have you ever seen it happen?
Rarely.
It,
Very
it, it,
rarely.
it does, but like you almost don't even remember the examples when they do. It takes a while. I had a really good friend of ours who's in heavy duty now. He's sold all across, but he's found his niche in heavy duty. He's been there 10 plus years, maybe. And he said, basically, if you are in light duty, it'll take you a year before you feel comfortable in your role and seeing enough to know that this is a career. Until then, it is a true grind. You maybe even have the burnout, those kinds of things. And there's some doubt there. If you're primarily focused on medium duty, it's 2. And then you get up into heavy and it's 3. And when he told me that, it was one of those where like you kind of had that suspicion, but nobody had really voiced it before. And then when he said it, it was like, that's about as simple as it gets right there.
Yeah.
So how do you share that with somebody who's anywhere from 22 to even up to 30,
Yeah.
maybe even,
Yeah.
and explain that, hey, this is something that you can find success in? I've seen 2 pathways be successful of late, and I want to put a little asterisk, I guess, on successful, in that they're still in their role. Wherever they are as far as generating profit, they're still in their role. And that is pulling them pretty much right out of college where they know nothing, period. And you, relatively speaking, and you can really mold them. Or somebody that maybe has tried and failed at something else, but you can tell they gave it their all. And they were really ready to just have a change of scenery. And that might even be retail. Where, hey, even people that have sold 30 units a month at retail, but it's not that fulfilling goal. Hey, I need something different. That being said, generally speaking, what we found historically works best is find somebody in outside B2B that knows nothing of vehicles, because they have the skill set to handle B2B. You just need to sort of plug and play with the product and the process. Usually, though, those people are kind of what we've found historically, probably anywhere between 40 and 60, though. So it doesn't necessarily solve the young people kind of component. But that's where I've put, and our team has put, an emphasis on some of the systematic things that are, for lack of a better phrase, digital nowadays.
Okay.
Whether it's the socials or the various marketing channels that come into play, or AI is a big one too. There's that meme out there that, hey, your doctor in 10 years is in grad school right now learning how to get through medical school with ChatGPT. Or I butchered it, but you guys get the point. Where, okay, can we meet them on their level and gradually bring them over, or let them use those tools to be efficient in some of the stuff that might otherwise take them forever to get them caught up to speed? So not only have we injected, say, AI into the process of the people that exist, but in the industry, but also started to look at that and, hey, how can we attract people over to commercial and fleet and find success there? Because like I said, they are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And One Nexus has done a great job of identifying young, very capable talent and putting them in dealerships that have systems in place to give them a reasonable level of success.
Yeah. The tough part about bringing someone in, and we can have many discussions about what does that person look like? What's their background? Where are they coming from? The common theme is this, and I liked how you touched on the dealerships need to invest. And what they need to invest in is time and money. Because here's the issue. When I first started selling cars in the early 90s, they give you a 90-day, either a guarantee or a draw. There's all sorts of different combinations out there. Mine was a draw. You had 90 days to prove that you can do this. In today's world, if you sell one OEM, there is 60 days of training that you have to get completed on top of CRM follow-up that doesn't allow you 90 days to get off of the ground. Dealerships need to give, even just on the retail side. Let's start on the retail side, not commercial, but on retail. Retail's a lot faster. You can build a network, you can sell cars faster because there's more being sold and there's more opportunities because there's
More
more
being
customers.
sent to you.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. There is an emphasis now where there's been a big shift of dealerships are essentially spending less resources. I don't want to say money, less resources on marketing and really putting that on the shoulders of their salespeople. Hey, go out there with a phone every day and make sure you do a selfie. And, the more you do, the more traction you get. Okay. Well, essentially, the dealership has said, look, we're not going to spend money on that type of transaction. You're going to do that. Well, if you're out there with a selfie stick taking videos, shortly after you just spent 4 hours doing some training, taking tests, and being certified, and then you've got 40 phone calls to make to customers that might have accidentally clicked on your website at some point in the last 90 days, right?
Perfect phrasing, yes.
Yes. That person typically is going to reach a moment in that first 90 days where they realize they're not going to be able to do this. And then they start looking for something else.
Bingo.
They're looking for a landing spot because they're like, I'm 60 days in. I've sold 3.5 cars. I had to get a turn on every single one of them. And my own friends and family won't buy from me. So I've got 30 days to figure this out. And then in 90 days, they're gone. Transversely, in the commercial side, and we talked about this, they drop somebody in and say, okay, here you go. Here's our hours. We're going to work Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. You're going to need to be here at least half of a day, 1 out of every 5 Saturdays. How's that sound? Sounds great. Okay. How do I do it? Well, you'll just have to figure it out. And then the I'll have to figure it out goes nowhere because now they don't even know where to start. Transversely, they still get the same 90 days. Hey, you got 90 days. Okay, well, 90 days on the retail side is different than 90 days on the commercial side. Not only do you have to know what's on the front of the vehicle, now you got to figure out what's on the back of the vehicle.
And what's going into the vehicle.
Right. And then how a business operates. You got to know how a trades company works. What's important to them? What's important to a plumber? What's important to an electrician? What's important to HVAC? Not only do you have to figure out, okay, I got to figure out what Ford has to offer. Now I got to figure out what Knapheide and Redding and Stahl and Stellar and whoever else. I've got to figure all that out too. And oh, by the way, I have to take all these tests to be able to become certified. And then on top of that, now I've got to figure out whenever I talk to a customer what their business is and what's important to them. It is a long burn. 90 days is nowhere close, but it's still very old school mentality in most cases, not all. There are some dealerships out there that are doing better about it, but they want the incentive. They want to say, look, after 90 days, if you can't figure this out, we're going to need to have a conversation about it. Well, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, what that does, that puts undue pressure on people. Now, you don't want to just leave it carte blanche and say, hey, just figure it out when you figure it out. You don't want to do that either. But there needs to be some training along the way and benchmarks,
Yes.
right? We need benchmarks. It's like, okay, after 30 days, you really should be completed with all of your training, all these things, right? And then your next 30 days, and there needs to be conversations along the way, but certainly every 30 days. Okay, this is everything that you've done good. These are the things that I see. Because if you can correct little mistakes or little hurdles, if you will, along the way, it's better than getting into the end of the 90 days and going,
Yes.
hey, I noticed over 90 days you haven't done this. Well, I didn't know I had to do that. Right?
May I cut in for a
Go
moment on that?
ahead, please.
Okay.
Please.
Because one of the most frustrating, really, objections that I see in trying to sell our training events, or whatever, is the response of, well, I'm not sure about them yet. Okay, twofold. If you're not sure about them yet, why'd you hire them in the first place?
Bingo.
Okay. But aside from that, because you got to fill a position, I get it. Maybe attending outside training that is purely focused on this industry would help to solve the problem of I don't know yet about this person yet in those first 90 days, first year, whatever it is. Because my guess is everything that you've just laid out, just described, is probably happening. And you, the commercial manager, or whoever it might be, maybe you're a dealer principal that's bringing in somebody to start it for the first time. My guess is that either A, you don't know how to teach it, which is completely different than actually doing it, or you don't know where to begin either. So, how can you expect that person to succeed? And so, the value prop that we present is okay, our ultimate boot camp's $1,500. You had to travel in, whatever. Maybe it doubles that. Maybe it's $3,000. Would you be willing to invest $3,000 to be sure? To be sure that maybe the person doesn't work out. There's that risk. Maybe they figure it out and they realize you can't give them the resources, but down the road motors can, and they leave. There's that risk. But would you rather have it be, okay, we did what was necessary to give them an opportunity to succeed. We held our head high and put the resources in front of them, and this is what happened. Or sit there and go, well, let's just find another one. And then you go through the search costs, the hiring costs, the bringing them in. Now you're doing the training again, and you're in that same revolving door. We had a dealer, fortunately, I think this problem's been solved, and they've been pretty good lately, but we had a dealer, we'll just say a few states away from us, that we used to run our boot camps, give or take pretty much every 90 days. We would slot an extra one in here somewhere, usually average about 6 a year, but it felt more like quarterly. And for about a 2.5 year stretch, we had the new guy at that dealership come every 90 days. And it was a new person each time. And after a while, when we would see that dealership come across the registration, Ken and I would just be like, of course, we're in that situation. We want this one to be successful. But it was almost like, okay, we'll keep taking your money, but we know you're not doing the right things. And finally, I just called the dealer principal one day and I'd be like, are you putting these guys on a 90-day draw? Fill me in on what you're doing, why you keep having this turnover. And it was all the same pitfalls that you would expect. And it was like, here, you need this stuff, these resources that we provide to the dealerships before you ever even entertain bringing somebody in and trying to make this work. Get this part right, or at least prepared for it, before you make your next hire, please. And fortunately, took a few years, and probably COVID helped it, but they've got 5 or 6 in that department, and the shortest tenured guy's been there 2 years.
Okay.
So
they figured something out.
They figured something out. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is rare. Typically, the way dealerships are going to field their commercial department, they go pluck somebody. Go get that person over there. They've got a book of business. Go get them. Why? It's great because there's essentially very little learning curve other than DMS software and where the bathroom is at the dealership. How they do business might be a little different, but as a general rule, most people that are heavy hitters in our industry can bring a book of business and pretty much carry on like they have in the past. Depending on where they move to and from, they might only lose 20 to 25, maybe more percentage of their customer base, but they're going to pick that back up because they're in a new place, whatever the case is. But that's typically how you feel commercial department, because you're right. There are, um, generally speaking, on light to medium duty, they're typically run as a retail car dealership. And that's where a majority of the mentality comes from. And sometimes you can get a rare case where the retail side will leave the commercial side alone. That can have good and bad effects, but overall, if you'll leave them alone and treat them differently, allow them a little more of a leash, then your chance of succeeding is, even if you don't do anything but just get out of the way. Because what I found, most people that do what we do are very, very resourceful. We'll figure it out. We'll go get the knowledge. The knowledge is there. There's a lot of people that will help you. Vendors, upfitting vendors,
Yes.
OEM vendors, right? They are there. They are a plethora, and it's a free resource.
They're supposed to talk to you. They're
Yes,
supposed to help you learn these things. Yeah.
absolutely. And they will help you sell, because they can't sell the OEM. They're going to go, they're the ones knocking on the doors. They're the ones that have the relationships. Hey, I've got a customer looking for 5 crane trucks. Can you help? Absolutely. Now, guess what? You're building a customer base just because your guy that you befriended as a vendor is out there knocking on doors. You take care of him, you take care of the customer,
Yes.
everybody takes care of everybody. And that's the thing, is you can't look at them just as a salesperson for a product. They are essentially a free resource that can go out there and knock on doors for you. Typically, they're going to be a little bit older in stature. They're not the young crowd. So they have a customer base. Utilize them 100%. Utilize those people.
That's, to me, that's one of the easier sides of this business,
Mm-hmm.
is those relationships that are in place that do exist for you to be able to learn more about any given thing, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, upfitter rep, manufacturer rep, financial rep, etc. You should know that should be probably in the first week. If for some reason a brand new hire, somebody that's interested in this is watching this, that should be within the first week of at least getting the names of the people that are in your network that are
Mm-hmm.
supposed to help you. Their job is designed to see you succeed, because more than likely they get paid off of that
Of
somehow.
course.
Might
Yeah.
not be a lot, but it's enough to make a difference for them. And the other side of that is, how often have you seen this, where whether it's co-op dollars or allocation or access to bailment pool or anything like that, it's a squeaky wheel thing. Not an annoying wheel, but just the one that's in regular, fair communication with them, that also has the potential, obviously, to turn the vehicle over into a sale. You have to be able to do that. But the ones that are go-tos for those reps, they're going to turn back to those dealerships and, hey, listen, I just got 8 2023s in. This is going to be a nightmare. Can you help me move them? If you're ready to find a way, they'll work with you. And then when you come into troubles of, man, I'm trying to find, police pursuit vehicles that are 2026s. Do you have any on property? Oh yeah, I've got 3. Can you take them? Sure. Those relationships build themselves just as much as your relationships with your customers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your point, I would highly suggest, if you are a new sales rep trying to get into this industry, when you see that manufacturer's rep come in, I don't care if they're with the OEM, if they're with a body equipment manufacturer, if they're an upfitter, whoever they are, seek those people out. Give them your card. Let them know that you're new to the industry. Don't be afraid to go up there and talk to that person, because generally that person's going to come down the hallway. He or she are going to talk to the people that they know. It's just human nature.
Yes.
They might pop in and say, hey, I'm so-and-so with so-and-so company. Please let me know if I can help. You seek them out and say, you know what? I'm new to the industry. Any insight that you can give me is much appreciated. Please let me know what I can do to help you. That goes such a long way with those. And I don't want to group those people, but typically they don't get any sort of a thank you or anything like that. And that is much appreciated. You will make a friend, you'll have an ally, a resource, and together you can go out there and create some business opportunities.
My first probably month when I flipped over and worked for Nissan, it felt somewhat overwhelming in that, like, what am I about to get into when it comes to service? A little bit of that kind of imposter syndrome thing. And I was fortunate enough that we basically had to deliver the content that was written for us. So as long as I knew that well enough, at least I could do my job till I felt comfortable, right? But within the first, maybe not a month, but maybe 6 weeks, I managed to get in touch with all of the regional representatives. In their case, they were fixed ops managers for all the different districts, have conversations with each of them, found a way to get their addresses. I won't disclose how I did that, but still.
Hey,
And just send them a
hey.
thank you note.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time. Some of them were 3-minute conversations, but they were introductions of, I'm in this position now. I'm not new to the industry, but I'm new to this specific thing. I may lean on you for a question from time to time or an understanding of how the dealership works and why this one's CSI sucks or whatever. And I appreciate you, being there and getting all these emails from me of when I'm going into dealerships and everything. So keeping that really simple. And when I left that position, I think I had 6 that I worked with regularly, and then you had some ancillary stuff elsewhere in other regions. But of those 6, 5 of them got in touch with me and said, "Man, I'm so disappointed that you moved on to something else. I've really valued our relationship." And 3 or 4 of them from there said, "I don't get thank you notes anymore. So I really appreciate the
Yeah.
handwritten thank you note that you
Yeah.
sent as you started your job, let
Yeah.
alone I sent them one at the end as well, which
Yeah, sure.
maybe it prompted the call, but still."
Sure. It's along those lines, I want to share a little tidbit of what I used to do to try to help myself be more successful. The dealership dealer trade person is probably one of the more important people that you need to be aligned with. I took it a step further. What I did, I always made sure to take care of my dealership trade girl. But every year I would go to her and say, okay, who are the dealer trade people that you work with that are willing to give you things at other dealerships? I want a name.
Right.
What dealership? And I would send them gift cards from me with a card to say, thank you for trading with me, with our dealer trade person, because that allowed me to sell something. 100% of those people sent a thank you note back, because it's just one of those unsung things. It's a task, it's a duty that they've been bestowed to do, but it's thankless.
Yes.
Because nobody ever stops to think about the 100 that you got for them. They pivot and they start thinking about the 5 you weren't able to get for them. But just sending a 10, 15, 20, $25 gift card to say thank you for everything you did for me throughout the year. Well, guess what? That next year, anytime I needed something that was labeled as non-tradable, somehow it found its way to my dealership, and I was able to put a deal together for my customer because of that little note. Just a little thing to help somebody out that meant a lot to them. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned reciprocity earlier. And about a year ago, a little less than that, I had the opportunity for the first time to be on Work Truck Solutions
Yeah.
Commercial Vehicle Business
Yeah.
Summit. And I didn't realize I was kind of a keynote. No one told me that part. It was just put a presentation together and talk about it. But I'm actually kind of glad it worked out that way. But the theme of the entire session was reciprocity. And I think I closed out day 1, if I recall correctly. And my speech, for lack of a better phrase, was titled around going first. And that in a reciprocal relationship, you take the lead with a lot of the stuff that we've just talked about. You be proactive. And I don't think anybody coming into this industry for the first time would be scared of being proactive, of meeting the people that are supposed to help you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
All you have to do is be industrious enough to go out and say, who's my Ram rep? Who's my Chevy rep? Who's my Napa rep? Who's my Ally rep? And so on. And make that call, go from there, build it. So one of the great pieces of advice I could give anybody watching this at any time, but especially people that are just into this, is go first in that reciprocal relationship. So that's one thing. And then another, I'll call out a dealer positively. A good friend. I saw his son last week, Rainey St. Hilaire, who's with
Yeah.
Hendrick. He was with GM a long time before that.
Yeah. Brian.
I saw Brian last week and had
Great
great
dude.
conversation with him
Great
at Truck
dude.
Club.
Yeah.
A year ago, I was at a truck club with those guys. Same truck club, just a different iteration of it. Rainey came to me, and sorry if I'm trading on this, Rainey, but I don't think so. And he goes, you know what would be really good training? And we're working on this now as a result and inspiration from this, would be, what do the first 100 days look like every single day? What are the things systematically that you need to know within the dealership? And what made me think of this is when you talked about your dealer trade person, right? How they impact your day to day. They can make it much more complicated or they can make it much simpler. Which one do you want to choose? Same thing with the service manager, every single advisor, every single tech. Same thing with the retail guys. And going through, and when this up comes in, I know you want it. I know you see that $80,000 truck plus, and it's a super simple sale, you think, but it's not. Come get me. Let's work out a deal. I'll find a way to help you, and any retail vehicles from this customer, I promise I will give them back to you, and they will happen. Rainey had suggested, can you put together somewhere between really probably a 60 to 100 step process? Get all those trainings out of the way, understand how your CRM works, understand how your DMS works, understand the relationships and all that kind of stuff. And that's something, yes, the givens, but the things that at the end of the day, you're going to need to rely on until you don't need them anymore. And you probably won't get to that latter part. Because if you're doing things right, you're going to be busy enough where that dealer trade person is still very, very important. That service manager is still very, very important. That retail person will bring you that up if you do it the right way. So that's something that we're among many things at One Nexus as far as building trainings. That's one that's it's not quite white whale level yet, if you will, but it's in the back of my mind of when that gets done and that gets completed, and I have Rainey's stamp of approval, so to speak. That'll feel really, really good. That'll be a win that hopefully generates plenty of money. But if it doesn't, I look at it as, hey, that was a creative idea that somebody had that asked me to execute on, and when that gets done, I'll feel like that's a championship in and of itself.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. No, that's great, man. But he's absolutely right. And the 100-day, what does the next 100 days look like?
But here's the thing. Awesome. How many dealerships can answer that question?
Very few. I don't want to say
there are a few, but they're the best of the best.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're not giving away their secrets.
Of course not. Why would they? Why would they?
So you got to figure that out. And if we can get, if we can get ABC Motors 3/4 of the way there, well, in my mind, then you start looking at Rising Tide, you should say, where you're not a GM, for instance, isn't leaning so absolutely heavily on their top 20 dealers, but more the total of their top 200.
Yeah.
Right. And that would be a tremendous win for the industry. And if I get to happen to be a part of it, then great.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I think as a general rule, and I'm sure you've found this, a dealership as a general rule is very reactionary and not nearly as proactive as they should be. Not transversely, but even in addition to, the commercial department is heavily reactionary. There's very little proactive business being done back there. It's sit back, wait for the phone to ring. That's the attitude, right?
Best example I can give to illustrate the two different approaches to that. We do something every Friday called Focus Fridays. It's an hour, actually it's 45 minutes, where we get together with whoever's part of that group. And we do have presentation structure there in case nobody wants to talk. They're busy, they're just listening, whatever. But the more dialogue that comes back, the better. And we can almost just like, all right, forget the PowerPoint. We're having the conversation. I love it when those happen. And we had one when tariffs became, you couldn't escape that in conversation. It had to come up. It still largely does, but back in March or whenever it was
big.
When it really started to push, you couldn't escape that word. And so we built one around how are you handling this? And we had a commercial manager not too far from you in Texas that I'm not going to cite his name though in this case, but he knows who he is, and I'm giving you kudos here. Where we go through, and he ended up going last in this little round table, and most of it was almost, for excuse the French here, but it was almost a little bit of a bitch session. I
Mm.
don't know what I'm going to do. There's challenges here and there, etc. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders, wore a tie, suit and tie. And he just goes, "I don't care." And we're all like looking at him like, what? And he goes, "I have a 5-year, 10-year, 30-year plan that I stick to. And ultimately, it just goes back to my day to day process. The only thing this changes is if we have to change pricing in 60 days or whenever that inventory starts coming in." He goes, "I'm not worried at all. I wasn't worried about COVID, not worried about interest rates, nothing, because we have our processes that we stick to." And it shocked the virtual room, but he was so right. Take the time to get that part right. You still have to have the patience, but you are so much more armed to succeed
Yeah.
than just being reactionary.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's rare. It's so rare that, again, we are all so reactionary to outside influences, whether it be from customers, whether it be tariffs, whether it be price increases, shortages, chip shortages, you name it, right? We're very reactionary. And I will admit that there has been a lot of things that have happened in the industry, really since COVID,
Hmm.
that are unprecedented. Uh, Chip shortages, recalls are at an all-time high. I mean, you can't hardly have a vehicle on the ground that doesn't have a recall. Everything has a recall, and it has to be satisfied. Um, it's tough, but the process is like that dealer referred to. If you have processes in place, it relieves a lot of the anxiety that's built on the reactionary part of the business,
Yes.
right? You got a plan, it's okay. You can be stranded on a desert island. If you have a plan, there's less anxiety. If you don't have a plan, you're constantly anxious. And
And
a lot of
it,
dealers should probably listen to that and pay attention.
and you think about the anxiety and the burnout and everything, of just how much energy of your day gets expended to that problem. Whereas having the confidence in your process of, okay,
Yeah.
minor adjustment here and there,
Yeah.
and just taking that mindset, but you got to put in the work to iron that out first, so that when you're ready to, when something happens, it's a minor blip instead of a nuclear bomb of
Right.
what it could be.
Well, and that you can probably attest to this better than anybody, being a quarterback, walking into that huddle,
Hmm.
commanding the respect and saying, "Hey, guys, it's going to be okay." And you yourself don't know that it's going to be okay, but that's what you have to portray.
Yes.
It's going to
Yes.
be fine. I listened to, not to get off subject, but Michael Strahan was talking that as he got further and further into his career, obviously as the leader of that team, they were all looking at him. And he
Hmm.
goes, there were times I'd walk in the huddle and just calm everybody down and tell everybody it was going to be okay. But I didn't think it was going to be okay. But it didn't matter at that point. It's your mindset going into it, much like having a process. You have the right process that's proven and you believe in it. That's the thing. You got to believe in it. If you believe in it, you're going to be okay. It'll be all right. You you can face almost any storm as long as you have a process and a plan in place. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Will, tell us what's up. What's coming up for you here in the near future? I know you've got some stuff working with the Work Truck Solutions Business Summit. Tell
Yep.
us a little bit about that.
I got that. That was just solidified a couple days ago, as at
Nice.
least as of we're recording this.
Yeah.
So looking forward to reprising that role in a different context this time. I'm going to be part of a panel, which
Mm.
that's always cool to see those,
Yeah.
especially the way it's branded with Catherine and that team do just such a wonderful job on that. So I'm
Yes.
excited to be a part of that. I'll be speaking on the practical impact that AI has on dealers and other
Mm.
personnel, and really how you can do it in your personal life too. There are so many tools out there now with AI that are, some of them are kind of pie in the sky or pipe dream type, that say they can help you, really don't. Maybe they're too far advanced for you. And then there's others that I think they just inject those letters to try to make a sale.
Mm.
We kind of took the approach of what's out there now and how can it help you today. and solidify some of the things. So I'll be speaking on that and sharing some of the great stories that we've had, and just talking about that and hearing back of, here's how I did it. Here's what, what made a difference. And the famous line that I wrote in the article that goes with it, that'll be in their publication shortly, is generally what I've found is it can save you about 5 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, think about that. Ask yourself that question, everybody listening to this. If I could give you back 5 hours in your week, what could you do? Personal or professional?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to make you feel better about everything in life if you were able to get that back. So
Yeah.
looking for those ways to do that. So that's one thing. And then we always have our ultimate boot camps. In fact, later tonight, I'm going down to Orlando for a flight first thing in the morning to Detroit
Nice.
for that one. So excited there. And then September's Virginia Beach. And October is a new site to us, but it's one I've been working on for almost a decade. My wife is from the state of Minnesota, and I've been trying to find the right facility to do one there,
Oh,
and
wow.
finally found one. So the guys at Surefitters, if you're watching this, I'm excited to have that event for sure.
Yeah.
But the big thing that we're really excited about at One Nexus, that is in that kind of done but still developing, testing, permissions, all that kind of stuff stage, is our e-learning. Because so often we've come across situations where with our ultimate boot camp, I will always, always support in-person stuff because of just this type of interaction, even tenfold, right? And just seeing people, working with people, the handshake, all that stuff, working with other dealers that are there and having those side conversations. But what we kept finding was, I just can't make those dates. I'm on vacation, or I've got something that's keeping me here. I've got a parent that's sick and I can't really travel anywhere, whatever it is. I for a while took those as objections or excuses. And it was like, no, these are real people.
Mhm.
These are real issues, and we need to find a way around these.
Mhm.
And so that really kind of going back to that example I told earlier about the dealership turning over somebody every 90 days, we have something in front of them immediately that can at least give them a shot to get started. And that was the genesis of me getting involved with our e-learning side. And then once we actually got into the tool that we had, we realized how powerful it was. And it was like, oh, we could do this, 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 and this. And I mean, the possibilities are endless. So we've started to have conversations with our regular dealer partners, like, what does this look like for you? How can we use this? But then also with the manufacturers of, you don't want to pay for people to travel to events any more than you have to either, but you don't want to hit just 100 dealers. You want to hit all 600 in your network or whatever it is. Here's that solution. And so we've really kind of set aside some other things to focus on this and get this process ironclad, so that when a manufacturer comes and says, all right, what have you got, which we've had, here it is, guys. The only thing we need to do is customize it and match your branding, and then we're ready to go. And all of your entire network that's interested in fleet and commercial can have this training starting, when we hit that button.
Yeah.
And the the boxes that checks in a practical way are so deep and so helpful that I kind of sit there and go, why weren't we doing this all along?
Yeah.
So it was something that I had cooked up, that I had wanted to do whenever the original transition would take place from Ken to myself in the original iteration of commercial truck training. That obviously just the worst timing with COVID came into play and shifted everything. So that kind of got backburnered in this transition that took place last year. And then when we got the tool to be able to reload that in better than I would have ever imagined it, um, it was, I mean, you want to talk about putting passion into a project and being really excited. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, those little successes, those little
Hmm.
championships along the way. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very
So
nice.
putting together, like, I call them coaching plans. Everybody else on staff calls them something else. But the series
Yeah.
basically of
Yeah.
modules into a given topic, and finishing it and watching it go online. Even though at this moment we've got them all, unlisted and all that, because we're still working on some
Yeah.
back end things.
Yeah.
But seeing that content be done and sitting there just waiting for the admin side of things to be taken care of. When you finish that and put it up, it kind of goes back to the play at the plate at the end there of like, but in this case, I got another one ready to go. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and jump over to this, and I can just keep that process rolling.
Yeah,
So
man.
I'm very excited to see that hit the market when it does.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I plan on. I'll probably see you on that summit. I plan on cluing in on that. So that'll be good to see you over there. So
Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, man. Well, this has been a blast, brother.
Yes, it has.
I sincerely appreciate your time and all your insight and some of the great stories you told.
Likewise, yeah.
If someone needed to get in touch with you or wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
So with me, my email address, I'm going to send you to the Nexus one. I do have, for those of you that have known me for a long time, I do still have the @commercial truck training one. But my Nexus email address is will.brogan, Brogan, at onenexusgroup.com. And one is ONE, and then Nexus has one X. As we see all kinds of different spelling errors on that one, and no fault to anybody there.
Yeah.
But really, all of the resourceful stuff, the event stuff, all of that, it's on onenexusdealertraining.com. That's taken over to be the one source for all of our stuff, even the departments that I'm not a part of. If it's U.S. operations on the training side of things and dealer consulting side, it's there.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
onenexusdealertraining.com.
I'll be sure to include that in the transcript so anybody that didn't catch
Thank you.
that or wasn't able to write it down or driving right now, whatever they're doing.
Yep.
So I'll put it in the transcript.
Yeah,
So,
those of you that are listening while driving, this is typically when I get to listen to podcasts too, so I sympathize for sure.
oh, don't we all? Absolutely. Yeah, it's some of the best. I mean, we'll sit there and just be listening, and then we're floating in and out while we're driving, and other things are catching our attention. But then it's those little pops that catch us. But it's always good to go back, and there's sometimes I'll listen to or watch a podcast 2 or 3 times just to be able to get it all, because it's like this one. It's packed with so much information that there's almost nothing you want to be left out in the dark on.
I'll pull back the curtain on one thing. One of my great mentors, in fact, I put him probably right under Ken as far as actual mentoring and performance. His name is Dr. Carl Morris. He's a performance coach over in the UK. He's done a lot of work with golfers that have won majors, cricket teams, football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, but that sport.
That sport.
He and I go back and forth on that, if you can imagine.
Yeah.
But he's got a podcast. He used to call it the Brain Booster, and now it's a little bit more golf centric, called the Mind Caddy. But he has a guest on there. I love all of Carl's stuff and work with him. I talk with him every day.
Yeah.
But he has a guest on there that really focuses on the brain specifically. And how different interactions and different targets, in this case, create or reduce brain activity. And you really want it reduced so you can have clarity. But they gave a tip on a podcast that they did about 6 weeks ago that fits retaining information better than anything I've ever heard before. And so I got in touch with them. It was like, can I please use this as an experiment in our next boot camp, which is the one that I'm about to go to? I know for a fact this is going to be a game changer in terms of the approach of, great, you got 2 days of 14 hours of content, and I'm going at you all day, and you have your interactions and all that, but everybody leaves with, I'm drinking from a fire hose. If I could just do one thing, I'll find it successful. Well, what if you could do them all? How do you remember all of this? I'm not going to give away the tactic yet. I'll wait for those guys to do it in their testimonials. But really, that idea came from, and all you got to do is use your phone. That idea came from those 2 guys, Carl Morris and his guest, Izzy Justice, talking about this on their podcast. And it was like, oh my God, it was one of those where it's like, why haven't I been doing that the entire time? With me as a learner and me teaching people. So I cannot wait to put this in practice and get the feedback from everybody.
Yeah.
Because I've done it in a kind of a written form over the years, and it's helped me so much.
Yeah.
So if I can let people take that next logical step and watch the impact, and then see their commercial managers go, wait a minute, he remembered so much of this boot camp. Why? And just point to I'm so excited. So excited.
That's exciting stuff.
So that tactic will soon be revealed, but I'm gonna let the testimonials from that event take care of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome, man. I wish you luck. I know.
Thank you.
I know you're out there killing it. I'm a big fan, always
Thank you.
supporting, and yeah, man, I wish you nothing but the best.